We figured out why we're going to go to law school?
Yeah.
I hope we resolve that. By the way, did anyone tell their neighbor that they want to go so that they can help those who don't have access to good legal protection?
I actually knew somebody who went to law school for that.
Oh, for that reason. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
How are they doing now?
Okay.
I actually knew somebody for that. You mean
There's
no?
nothing wrong with having those noble ambitions, but keep in mind this. Unless you have hardcore evidence to back up that desire, to show that, look, I really do have a concern for people who don't have access to good legal protection, and I want to do social work or whatever along those lines, don't write about it in your personal statement. 40% of personal statements do discuss this desire for, to do public service or whatever, but actually only 2% of graduates go into it. And so most law school application reviewers are very skeptical and highly critical of personal statements that talk about that. Even if it's legit, you have to make sure that you can convey that legitness.
Should we go the opposite?
I've been watching Suits for the last year and a half. I want to make a lot of money.
Yeah, so if you're not gonna, if you can't even if you,
Look, not everyone is Superman, okay?
yeah, but if you don't wanna, if you feel as though you should kind of be averse to talking about that in your written statement, then what, in your opinion, is other convincing reason? Not that you should be disingenuine, but what is other convincing reasons that don't seem off as purely self-interested?
Money.
If helping someone else is not, if you can't talk about it.
No, you can just talk about things like an experience from your life or something that would show that you have, that you have maturity, that you have
Why?
a wide perspective. What? Because law school, your personal statement can cover a whole range of things. And you don't necessarily need to, you do kind of want to touch on why you're going to law school, but it doesn't need to be the main focus of your essay. A lot of times they're just trying to figure out who you are, and are you someone who's going to come to class and contribute? Are you someone who's going to graduate and bring good things to the school, take your law degree and do something good with it? Do you seem like a reasonable, respectable person? Sometimes people come in and they talk about how bad the current administration is. That's not going to be an essay that's going to go over very well. It's just kind of like, why are you talking about this? Or it kind of shows it.
Administration of the law school.
No. of the country or whatever. I guess it could be of the law school. Let me tell you about your administration. That's weird. They never accepted me. But you want to show that sometimes I've seen personal statements where the person starts out and they're talking about how they had a certain view. One essay I was reading a couple months ago was about how this person had, their family had immigrated to the United States and they had a lot of issues with the law, like law enforcement, and they had a very negative view of law enforcement, but then ended up working at a federal agency that was involved with law enforcement, and kind of that changed their perspective. And so the essay sort of ended like, before I used to see it as this sort of battle, and now I see it as there's more going on here, and there's obviously good aspects of law enforcement, and so you end the essay with this person has a broader, more nuanced perspective of the world. This is going to be someone who comes to class and contributes and is probably going to do well with their life. That's what you're trying to really convey is, look, I'm a good person without saying I'm a good person, which wouldn't actually convince anyone, right? Dear law school, I'm a good person. I'm glad you think so. You want to tell a story that sort of conveys that. So when they told that story, you're like, oh, okay, I can see this person has grown and is ready for the next challenge in their life. So do you need to say, look, I'm interested in public interest law? No. And my only advice here is that if you are actually interested in public interest law, you need to have the experience to prove that, right? You need to show, look, this is what I've actually done in that regard. This is not just something I've thought about, and now I'm going to tell you how I'm so interested in it. Yeah.
Something slightly unrelated, but sort of related. Would you recommend if you think you could get more letters of recommendations that are solid to do that, or just stick to the two?
Letters of recommendation are the lowest priority in your application, not because you shouldn't get good ones, and I would try to get good ones, but unfortunately they're more like, I mean, you got to realize that everyone is going out and finding the person that liked them the most, and they're writing a letter. So really, they don't necessarily do much to bolster your application. It's more like if you couldn't find any or very good ones, it hurts your application, right? Like, oh, this is the best person they could find, and they're kind of like, meh
Your
about.
mom.
You do not want family members. Position matters far less than familiarity. So sometimes people will work in like a senator's office, but they won't work for the senator unless the senator has intimate knowledge of what you've been doing and how that's helped him or her run their office. It's not going to be a good idea to get them to write it. Instead, you want the person that you directly reported to write it. It's way more influential. Yeah.
I was actually reading a book, and it was saying like.
You were actually reading a book?
Yeah. It was saying like as you brought that up. It was
Yeah.
good, basically about a senator. It was a book, I forgot what it's called. A lady that worked at Chicago Law School that did admissions,
Okay.
and she was saying she basically gives you the ins and outs of like what you should write about.
Was that Anne Levine?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And she was saying like it's better to have somebody that actually have seen you grown.
Yeah.
Instead of just having somebody where it may look good, but it may the advisor may be like, well, do they really know what
Yeah, the letter will be sort of empty, right? If they don't really know you, it'd be like platitudes.
And then she said they wrote, they wrote like, why do you want to go to law school, something about you, and the guy said, let me tell you how my marriage almost ended over dirty dishes. And it caught her attention, and then, like she was more like interested about
That.
what actually happened instead of just saying, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. I wanna
Yeah.
do this. So like if you can catch the attention of the advisor, and then you go on to why things led to certain things, and basically like.
Yeah, I think it is valuable if you can catch their attention and make sure you have like a legitimate message to convey. If you have that, then I think that's way better than the cliche personal statement that you expect you should be writing, because they're gonna read it in 2 minutes, faster than you read any passage on the LSAT, and they're going to, it's gonna be in one ear and out the other, and it's really just kind of like, let's just see if this person's, like, do they have anything to say? And most of these are very unmemorable and don't have any real impact. So, yeah, that would be really interesting. And you'd be really curious what they said, right? Yeah, your marriage almost ended. Do we want you here? Were you a combative person? Yeah, you can't get along with people? Is that what you're saying? No, but depending on what they said, that could go totally one direction or another and become a very like, wow, this person learned a lot and very insightful. This is the kind of person we want in school. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with admitting mistakes, but taking ownership and showing what you learned from them can be valuable instead of pretending that you're perfect, right? Only a few people like me can do that. So let's. Emma's not laughing.